The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present... Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Another episode of Positive Talk Radio. We've got a great show for you today. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, goody. I can hear you too. And yes, indeed. So I would love for you to pronounce your first name for me.
Marieke.
Marieke. And Lexmond is our guest today, and she's an author. She's a filmmaker. She's got a documentary that is coming out, and it's going to be aired in Ireland, which is where she's at right now. And she's an author of the Madigan Chronicles. That's right, Madigan?
That's right. Yeah, it's a fantasy story.
Yeah, and well, it's not only is it a fantasy story, there's 6 books involved.
It is, yeah. It's an extensive fantasy story about family, and I think you can talk about family endlessly.
Yes, you can. A lot of it is about everybody's dysfunction, but sometimes it's kind of cool. Now, you have been writing for a while, and you're halfway through this 6. When you started doing this, were you thinking that it was going to be 6 books?
Well, let's first tell you if you would have heard many years ago when asked me if I wanted to write books, I would have said you're insane because I just have no patience. So I thought, how will I ever be able to write a book to begin with? But I wrote a pilot for a TV series, and that was the first idea for the Madigan Chronicles. And
I gotta tell you, your sound is going crazy again.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is this better?
Not yet. Yeah. Let's see if we can do what you did before.
Let's see if we can have it. Is this better?
Oh, that's better now.
I'm afraid the rural Ireland is maybe a little bit of a hiccup here. I'm so sorry.
Well, that's all right. Let's see if it's cleared up now, so it's perfect. So,
okay, let's hope it stays this way.
So let me ask you again, when you started your series and you started with book 1, did you think it was going to be a 6-book series?
By that time, in all honesty, I thought it's needed to be this long. My whole idea started many years ago as I wanted to write a story about a witch family which represented the tarot cards. Mm-hmm. And I tried to write it as a TV series. No, I started to write it as a film, but it was too many characters and too much happening. You couldn't fit it in an hour and a half. So once the TV series became more popular, I thought this would be actually perfect as a TV series because you have more time to spend with the characters and to develop the characters and to tell just a more complex story, I think. And I felt this story really needed time. And I wrote a pilot, and I thought it would be cool. I love tarot cards. That each chapter or each episode, in that sense, represented a minor arcana of the tarot card. That is from 1 to 10, and you have 4 suits. So I decided it would be 40 episodes in total. So my books also became 40 chapters. And that gave myself an enormous task of writing 6 books. And I must in all honesty say I didn't really think it through because, it's just a long time to write 6 books. And these people live in my head for a long, long time. Yeah. It's very busy up there. Let's put it like that.
I'm guessing. Well, the first book is called The Dagger. And
Yes.
the second book is called The Magical Tarot Deck. And the third book is The Wand.
Yes. And I'm just wrapping up the 4th one, which is called The Cup. And the 5th one I already know will be called Fairy. And then the 6th book, I'm not entirely sure about. So that will stay a mystery for a little while.
And when do you think the project will be complete? Will it be like another 5 years?
No, for sure not. I hope to throw the 4th book now in the publishing stuff, and that takes several months. So I probably end of the year, beginning of next year, that will come out. In the meantime, I will start writing book 5, and I hope within a year to have that done, and then book 6 the same time span. So within 2 years, I hope to be more or less done with this story.
Well, that'll be really cool because people don't have to wait for a year and a half for each book, because they get to the end of the 3rd one and they're going to say, I want the 4th one, and I got to wait a year or 2 years. And so that's good. And so people will be able to get all 6 in the series and go back to back to back to back to back to back to back.
Yes, I think that's, and also because it is really a continuous story with a lot of characters, it's handy if you can read through, in all honesty, probably.
Exactly. Well, tell me about your film career, because you also are a filmmaker, and you just finished a documentary about Greenland.
I went to film school in around 1990, and I actually have a master degree in camera and lighting. So I still love to take pictures, which you can see on my Instagram accounts. And I worked in the film industry in the Netherlands for several years and met my husband there. And he got a job opportunity in America. And we said, what the heck? Let's pack up and move. But he got a work permit straight away, and I wasn't allowed to work to begin with. So I went from working full-time, teaching horse riding lessons, being never at home, to living in another country, have nothing to do. And I must say it was quite a culture shock, because, I was just such a busy person. And then it's difficult enough if you have nothing to do. And then to live in another country, although I thought America and the Netherlands shouldn't be that much difference, I learned I'm a very Dutch person. And it's just, you learn a lot about yourself, where you're coming from, and also about the country that you live in, obviously. But I had nothing to do. So that's actually when I started writing. And after several years, I got a work permit. We have a green card now, so it got easier to work. And I do still things I still write screenplays. And I met people here in Ireland that wanted to make a documentary in Greenland. So I said, let's go for it. We got some money together, and they sailed. I flew to Greenland, and we went up the coast and met a lot of wonderful people there and made a documentary about it. And I think it's very powerful. And I was just blown away by the country, how nice the people were, the nature. It's just so alien, and it's hard to imagine if you haven't been there. And the glaciers and just the wildlife, and to imagine that you live in a place which sometimes has 24-hour daylight and then 24-hour night for months. It's just, it's crazy. But I feel very lucky to be able to have been there. It was really special.
It's a completely different lifestyle, I can only imagine.
Gosh, it's just, in the summer, really, everybody is out, and kids you see playing football in the middle of the night. And I've never been in the winter, but I can only imagine you're just in your house, basically, or, do your basic stuff going out, because it's also very cold. And but they said, because you grow up with it, you're sort of they sort of also looking forward to the winter, but it's hard on children and elderly people.
I got to ask you, because you were in you were in the United States for a period of time. What was that like? That must have been a real culture. Other than you weren't able to work, that still must have been a real culture shock from going from, because Ireland and the Netherlands and that whole area is on my bucket list. I want to be able to go see that and go sit in a pub, go sit in an Irish pub for a while. I think that would be a great fun.
You will love it, Kevin, because people here, I'm Dutch, so I'm from the Netherlands, but I have a house here on the West Coast, and Irish people are just very open and curious. So if you go to a pub, you quickly have a little chat, and you have to get used to a little bit to the Irish accent, because it can be quite strong here on the West Coast. But it's fun, and there's lots of music around, and I feel this is old country. And as a witch, I say the land speaks to me here. It's you feel instant some sort of connection, or it's just a wonderful, interesting place, and I can highly recommend for you to come down here. You will love it. There are no snakes.
Oh, I know St. Patrick did away with that. That's one of those wives' tales that, St. Patrick's is supposed to, and which is why we have St. Patty's Day, which is a drinking holiday in the United States. But we have St. Patty's Day because he drove the snakes out of Ireland, but there never were any snakes in Ireland. So
he did a good job. It was fairly easy. Yeah. Hence the drinking. They had time for drinking. Gone with the snakes.
Exactly, and so it was a really good deal for him. But I've always wanted to go there, and I hope to make it in the next year or two. So we shall see.
When you come here, I'll gladly share a pint with you. So I'm here. I try to be here in the summer, and because I live in New Orleans, and I'm not really good with the extreme heat. So I try to escape in the summer to our holiday home here and miss hurricane season.
Oh, it's good for you. That's a season that's worth missing, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, it's scary.
Does your husband stay there and work, and then you come here, or does he come with you?
He works in the film industry, so he travels a lot. So I see him maybe 4 months out of the year, I think. So we each go our own way, and if we're together, we do just spend quality time.
That will keep a marriage together if you're only together 3 or 4 months a year.
It works very well for us. So,
and you got 3 little puppy dogs.
Yes, they keep me company everywhere. I have now small dogs because it's just easier if you travel a lot. And 3, I must now honestly say, is not very practical. But I had 3 dogs before, and then I said never 3 dogs again. And then COVID hit, and we saw this sweet old guy that needed a good home. So we took him in, and once you have to, this one more, and they're small, so I just pack them up and we travel, but that's also why I prefer to go longer periods of time to Europe up and back, because I don't want to fly him a lot if I don't have to.
Yeah. Now, do they have to go into the hold?
2, I unfortunately have to check in because you're not allowed to take 3 dogs handbag. I tried to book extra seats, or I did try all sorts of stuff, but they don't allow you to do that. You have to have an actual person to fly with the dog.
Oh, I didn't
so I take one in a bag because she has a very short nose, and I fly with a certain airline, and they are I must say, very meticulous. They let you know that they're there, that they safe on board. They keep you posted all the way, and the people handling the dogs are generally very friendly. So I think you hear a lot of horror stories, but these days, the horror stories are the only thing that get attention. So.
Yes, indeed.
It's not my favorite thing to do, but I also don't want to leave them. So
I understand. Your dogs become your absolute best friend.
They are, and they're my family. They go everywhere with me. So they used to go. I'm now in the car. I take them on the boat to England, and then through the train tunnel to Netherlands. And yeah, they're used to traveling. They're pretty good sports.
You really have had an extraordinary life because you get to
I'm
travel
a
all over the place.
girl. I'm a spoiled person. Yeah, we have a saying in the Netherlands. It's called Sunday children or something they call it, and it's just lucky. I feel very lucky to be able to do all this, and I'm very aware that it's a privileged life.
Well, good for you. So now, now we're talking. By the way, I am terrible with pronouncing names.
Marieke.
Marieke Lexmond, and she's the author of 3 books, soon to be 6 books, and it's an entire series. And a lot of it's based on witches and magic and tarot cards. And how'd you get into tarot cards?
I've always loved tarot cards. I love the art, and ever since I went to film school in Amsterdam, and you have there the red light district, and on the edge of it is a wonderful little metaphysical bookstore. I think it's still there, and I walked in there when I was in film school and found my first books about witchcraft and tarot cards, and from then on I was sold. I just bought every tarot deck I could get my hands on, and I think I have now over 300 tarot decks.
Oh wow.
And
do you have a favorite one?
I mix it up. I keep buying tarot decks. It's a sort of a thing. I draw a card of the day to get to know my tarot cards. If I like the deck, if it resonates with you, because I find a lot of them I love for the artwork, but I couldn't read with it to save my life. That's why I say. But I have an affiliate thing with Celtic-based decks, so that's generally where I fall back on because I feel that's where I resonate with. But But today I have Shiro Machete's. At the moment, I have his Machete tarot cards that I use for my daily cards because I like it. They're nice and shiny and cute.
Yeah, do you read for other people or do you just read for yourself?
I read for other people if they ask me, or on the rare occasion I do it on a friend's party or stuff like that. But I don't want to make reading my daily business. So I go to tarot weekends or stuff to, hone my skills, and they're definitely integrated in my daily life, but I don't want it to make it my work. But they are in the books, and each chapter starts with a tarot card, I said earlier, and a friend of mine, she designs the tarot card specifically for the books. So that's something to, you really dive deep into the cards, you talk together because she's a wonderful artist, and I've known her basically all my life since I was 6. So we know each other very well, and we're also not afraid to say the truth. And so we bounce back ideas, and then to create something with another creative person is just a magical thing.
Well, and as a matter of fact, her name is Nicole, and you've known her for 20 years now, since you were 6.
Yeah, 20 years indeed. Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And her illustrations are just breathtaking for the books.
Oh gosh, she has a special mind. I think she is so imaginative, but also a gifted artist. And I'm lucky to be able to do it. And it's so fun because we know each other for such a long time, to finally find something that you can do together. And it's just a wonderful experience. I enjoy it thoroughly, and we have a lot of fun with it. And surprising outcomes sometimes, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody when I was 6 that's still in my world today. So, is it when you're around somebody that much and you've been friends for such a long time, do you get to know each other's thoughts and that your relationship gets just deeper than if it's been a short time?
I think it's very different if you meet as a child. It's more like, I know her since I was 6. I, had a lot of sleepovers at her home. I have only 4 brothers. And so I feel a little bit like she's my sister in that sense. She was in my life a lot when I grew up. So you just know each other really well. And I think even though you sometimes don't see each other for a long time, once you see each other, you immediately fall back into that way of communicating or where you're comfortable with.
Exactly. You had 4 brothers?
I have 4 older brothers.
Oh, I'll bet you're a very well protected young lady when you were a child.
I was very feisty. I think that happens when you have 4 older brothers, and I could take care of myself. But I think they teased me a lot when I grew up. But once I got older, they spoiled me a lot. So it's both ways.
Well, it's one of those things where if somebody were to come up to you and say, you want to go on a date? Yeah, but you got 4 brothers. I would think twice.
I would just never take anybody home.
Well, now there's an answer to a question.
Yes. I only took my husband home when I was certain about somebody. So there were a lot of speculation about me when I grew up.
Well, that's good. That's really good. So, where did your imagination come from, do you think?
I don't know. It's just always been so busy in my head. I don't know. And I find creativity is something that is on multiple levels. Like now I write, but for me, creativity, it's the same if I take a picture. I make spells, and then it's also a creative process. And they all feed each other in that sense. So it's never quiet in my head. So I think I always thought it was in everybody's head, but my husband always says, my head, it's very quiet. And I said, like, people talk to me all the time. And I see things all the time. And, you can't go on a walk with me without stopping and taking a million pictures. And then I have to talk to the trees. And, it's busy.
Now, do you think that you would you call yourself a psychic then?
No, not at all. No, I think a psychic is a very specific skill. And I don't see myself as a psychic. I am sensitive to moods and stuff like that, but I don't think psychic is somebody. I don't hear somebody else's. I don't see something for somebody else, or I'm just an intuitive person.
Then who are all these voices that are in your head? Have you ever stopped to ask?
They tell me stories. It's a good thing.
Well, that's good. They'll keep you busy writing more and more books.
That's where these Medigans came from. I mean, they're very busy up here.
That's pretty awesome.
Because that's actually one thing I learned at the COVID is that I talk to them all the time. And because my husband and I are away a lot, I'm home alone a lot. So I'm unaware that I sometimes talk out loud. But with the COVID, my husband at a certain point said, maybe you can just call out my name when it's for me, because I apparently talk all the time.
That's so interesting. So, well, it's great that you've got the 4th book coming out, and have you started on the 5th book yet, or is that in the development stages?
I actually wrote the first couple of pages for it. So I feel also sometimes, I ended book 4 with something. I can't say what yet, so I don't want to spoil it. But the end fits into the beginning. I like to use a prologue to set a sort of a tone, but also a hint for something else. So the end of book 4, something happens in the past that's the prologue that links into the prologue at the beginning. And then in the end of that book, it will become clear where it fits in.
So you've got all 6 books mapped out in your head, more or less.
I would say on paper, because I'm at the stage that I can't remember everything. But I map out generally my books, but I also don't like to map out too meticulously because I think that kills the creativity and I don't want to write anymore. I learned that the hard way. I wrote stories and I, really map everything out. And then I'm like, what's the fun in writing it? I love to write. And then sometimes stuff happens and things roll out that gives you, it's exciting if I even get surprised, and I want to keep that. So, and then sometimes I have to adjust along the way. Like the very ending has changed. Now I'm pretty sure it's set because, I have just 2 more books to go. So there's little room for that to change. But when I first thought of the story, the ending was totally different.
So you surprise yourself with while you're writing a book, and in the writing of it, you still surprise yourself with where it goes?
Yep. Yeah. Weird things come out sometimes. You don't know. And you want to let it come out. And then it just takes a different road and it can be fun. I also still love to explore. So, you shouldn't set yourself up for not being, and that's part of the creativity, I think, is to let everything flow and also not be afraid to throw something away if it doesn't work. Don't hang on to something because you have to be. Sometimes I write and I throw 10 pages away. I'm like, makes no sense.
Where do you think the inspiration comes or the intuition comes for you to be able to write a book?
I what I love about New Orleans is the crazy people, the different kind of people, all sorts of people. I just love to walk around in the streets.
There are lots of strange people down in New Orleans.
I love it. I think it's just wonderful. You get ideas, you see things, and it just sparks stuff in my mind. And it's very different from Ireland, where I more get inspiration from walking by the ocean or under the trees or, just more nature involved. So it's very opposites, but both things are essential for me in the story. And then I get inspiration from families because, not specifically which family, but any family has, interesting dynamics, and good or bad, it's something you can play with and you can learn from interactions between people. And so basically it's just inspiration can come from the silliest things.
And when you're starting to look at families, seems like there's always some dysfunction within a family, and everybody's got their unique brand of it.
None is the same. And I think also if somebody tells you they have a perfect family, it's simply not true, because there's not such a thing as being perfect, not being perfect as a human, but also no perfect family. And that's just fine, And you have people who don't feel like they fit in at all with the family. They think like, why am I born with all these people that they can't do anything with? While other people have a real family, and they still have plenty of issues, So it's an endless brawn of inspiration.
And as a writer, you just have to love that, don't you?
What can I say?
It's
pretty back and enjoy the ride.
Exactly. Well, and now, how long ago did you start the first book?
Well, the idea for the Madigan Chronicles started 15 years ago. And I started writing the first book maybe 4 years ago.
What took you so long?
Sorry?
What took you so long?
Life. And also to actually think I could write a book. Because, I have no patience. So you have to really sit down and actually do it. And I also never thought I really love it so much. I just love it. I love writing books and making up stuff, and it's just amazing that I can spend my days doing that.
It's almost as like a spiritual experience for you, kind of, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's just interwoven in everything I do. It's like the Madigans are witches, and they always say, write about something that you know. So I make it no secret. I'm a witch myself. And I love to integrate things from that and spice it up with a healthy dose of fantasy to make it a little bit wild. And then I love to create a whole world. So on my website under thewitcheshead.com, you can see I also make spells that I'm for years already make spells, and they're all little unique items, and I collect things for that. So that's also something that's always going on and an ongoing process. But it gives me also inspiration in the stories. And so the whole writing and what I write about and life itself, as my life is, I think it's just one thing. It's all integrated.
It's interesting because I was having a conversation with somebody just a couple of days ago, and they said that they were a shaman and that they were looking at different shamanic activities that they could take part of. They also said that they were a witch. And I said, well, can you tell me what the difference is, or what's one different versus the other? She had a tough time going there. So I'll ask you, what does a witch do?
I think for me, a witch is living with the cycles of nature. So being open to the seasons, feel connected, be in touch with your feelings, being open to others. Because I think that's, for me, is part of witchcraft, is accept people, whoever they want to be, whatever they are, whoever they are. It's just live and let live. If you harm nobody, I think people should do whatever they want to do and love whoever they want to love and be whoever they want to be. Just, I think it's very important if people felt comfortable enough to be actually themselves. And I feel at home in witchcraft in that, but I also feel that it's something that you can make your own. There's a lot of certain, you have, oh God, now I can't get on the English word for it. You have certain groups or certain things, and I found I don't fit in a group. I'm not a coven person. I get very frantic if somebody tried to put me in a box. So I practice for myself. I do it. I grab from every different kind of thing what I feel like it is, and witchcraft is open to that. You can do whatever you want. You can make it your own. There's no set way. And that's what I really love about it. And I think shaman is a specific way of doing something, and it's really more spiritual connection or something, that you try to speak to certain, like your guiding animal or something like that. It's more going on a spiritual journey also in your mind, I think. While witchcraft, I feel, anyway, I'm a Virgo, so I'm very grounded. So I feel for me, it's more of a grounding way. Although I might sound very out there for a lot of people.
So your birthday is coming right up then.
It's Saturday. Yeah. I give it to you. There you go.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And so do you think that witches have gotten a bad name over? I mean, to be fair, they used to burn people at the stake for quote unquote witchcraft and stuff. Do you think it still has a negative connotation for some folks?
People think, I think people are generally scared of something that they don't know. And, but a general witch, pretty harmless. But like with any kind of people, you have good and bad people. And that's also what one of my books are about. It's, nobody's all good and nobody's all bad. It's all about the balance. And I think they got a bad rap, like, oh, they're all evil. But yeah, maybe some, but most of them are very nice.
I think the way you described witches is very similar to a belief structure where you believe that live and let live, and that we all are part of the same great big family, and we all are energy and all that kind of stuff. So it's very similar to a spiritual type of belief that they would have in this country.
It is, but I many, many years ago, I wanted to make a documentary about the Earth religions. And when I started to do a research, if you really boil things down to it, they often start from the same thing. All the beliefs, all the, even Christianity and Muslim, if you really boil it down, a lot of them say the same things. It's just, I think, some people take it to the extreme and make it scary, whatever way it is.
Yes. Now, what is the difference between like a witch and a druid?
A druid is also a very specific way of doing things, and I think a druid comes from a Celtic background, and witches can be from anything. Now, it's not specifically based on that where I believe, like the Druids, it's more about the trees and the you have the Oghram and the Celtic trees.
Now, have you been to? I forget what it's called. The circle that's got all the
Stonehenge.
Yes, Stonehenge. Thank you.
It's still on my list, but I have. It's became so touristy that I'm just. I'm not sure, and I'm also a believer of power to the pebble. Sometimes I think some stone that you find on the street or somewhere on the beach or whatever can have just as much power as something that has been there for such a long time. And because so many people get there, I just would feel maybe it gets out of sync.
And I felt the same way. I did. I went to Arizona. And I wanted to go to Tombstone, because that's where the OK Corral, the fight there was. It is all just so tourist trappy. It's no fun to go to a place that it's famous, yes, but there are vendors there, and there are things that and little shops that you go by, and it loses its charm for me because it's not real anymore.
It gets, and I think, that happens with certain places, and especially in this day and age with people all posting everything. I'm probably guilty about that too. Is that sometimes there are certain places that get so overcrowded that it loses what it made special.
Exactly. By the way, she is in Ireland, and it is 10:38 there, and her dogs are saying, "Where is she? Why isn't she in bed with us?" And because they're tired and stuff. So I want to thank you for coming on and talking with me. And again, the Madigan Chronicles are the books, and you can go to her website, which is underthewitcheshat.com. That's underthewitcheshat.com. I love the name of the website.
It's because in the books, the Madigans have a store in the French Quarter, which is called Under the Witch's Hat. So it's a bar. So there you go. That's where that comes from.
Oh, very cool. Well, I'm going to honor our time together, but before we go, I would like to set myself aside and give you the opportunity to tell our audience that's listening now and those that will be listening in the future anything that you would like them to know about anything.
Oh dear. Well, I just one of the things I can get very worked up with is people get put into labels and boxes. And I think let everybody be whoever they want to be and celebrate our differences. I think that's very important. And I would love it if, others just enjoy the people as they are.
I agree with you 100%. And I love the celebrate our differences.
Yes, I think that's so important.
I was a bus driver for like 12 years and people made me laugh because they're different and everybody's got their own story and their own belief structure. And it's just fun to watch. If you're a people person or like you going to New Orleans and watching people just hang around the French Quarter and down there and stuff like that. It's
never a dull moment.
Yeah. I can only imagine that.
You must have had so much inspiration. You could write a book about that, being a bus driver.
I could, but I would rather do this and talk to you. quite frankly, because I've got stories. Yes, I do, but I would prefer to, this is my.
You prefer to tell the oral stories.
Yes, this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I've been doing it for a long time, and I love talking to people.
It's important to do what you like.
Absolutely. You got to be passionate about what you're doing. So I want to thank you again, and
thank you, Kevin, for having me on the show. It was just lovely to chat to you about life.
Exactly, and Miss Lexmond, you want to give me your first name again?
Marieke.
If I could probably...
You're getting better and better at it.
Well, good. Marieke Lexmond has been our guest, and go, look at her books. I mean, Nicole, the illustrator, they're just wonderfully illustrated. They're wonderfully written. She's got... Are you the documentary that you have coming out about Greenland? Is that going to be distributed more widely than Ireland?
Yeah, it's called A Greenland Story, and you can already get it on Amazon on demand, I think, in the US and in the UK. So.
Wow, you're famous.
Oh. Well, anyway, I think Greenland is a very interesting place. For that respect, I think people should just... And what I love about our documentary, we meet regular people and they tell stories from their life. So the story is told by the people of Greenland. So, and I personally didn't know much about it before I started this project, and I thought it surprised me, and it was not what I expected.
And it's going to be a big deal because Greenland, in some cases, people are saying Greenland has got the key to our future. If we lose all of the glaciers that are there, it's going to change the world in really dramatic fashion. Yeah,
and it's already changing these people's worlds already because they feel it so acutely already directly. Although I think we all feel it in some ways, like I think that the weather events are getting worse and stuff like that. But they really see it in their daily life, and they have such a natural way of living, which obviously also spoke to me as a witch. And family is very important to them because they really rely on each other. But they also have a lot of problems because their culture changed so rapidly from traditional to modern, and their world went from, with internet and everything, blew up more or less because but they have such a rapid change. So that was also very interesting. So except next to the climate change and how that affected their life, it was also interesting to see how quickly their culture was forced to change and what effect that had on people.
It would sure be nice if we could just let people be who they are rather than, and their culture goes back centuries. And it's being changed.
They have such a rich history, and it's interesting. I was blown away by it. Yeah.
Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you, young lady, and I thank you very much for being here.
It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for having me.
And you need to come on, and we'll talk about more of this stuff again. Would you do that for me?
I would love that. Yes, for sure.
No, that's awesome.
Maybe next time when I'm in New Orleans, have a different story.
Exactly. We can give you a little camera, and we'll go down, and you can take pictures of people.
That will be fun.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And if you wait right there, I'll be right back again. By the way, go to underthewitcheshat.com to get all the information about all the books, and you can go to Amazon and buy them, as well as the documentary about Greenland and stuff like that. And that would be special. So please do that. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Kevin.
Right there, and I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because